Hi, everyone. Josh Rugger here in studio with a Weather Live update on this terrific Thursday. Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. Hope you got that jacket pack as well. Whew, was it chilly this morning here in northwestern Arkansas? Was a little bit concerned about that freezing fog potential. Thankfully, that didn't really materialize, but definitely going to be another chilly afternoon. High temperatures right around average in northwest Arkansas, but you're not here for the weather today. You're here because we've got some snowfall potential tomorrow. It's going to be our first winter weather event of the season here in northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. And well, it may not be all that impactful in terms of the amount of snow that we're going to get, or in terms of the wind chill factor, all that stuff that's going to be going down tomorrow. We are a little bit concerned about the time of the season because it does look like it's going to be moving through during the early morning hours, right as you're heading off to work and school. So let's get right to the latest information right now. And let's take a look at this setup that we've got going on here in northwest Arkansas. First of all, nice and sunny outside. We got a few high clouds moving through eastern portions of our weather coverage area. And those clouds will continue to increase as we move throughout the day today. And it's all because of that pesky low pressure system that's starting to crank up along the desert southwest. Really, that low pressure system is now located firmly over New Mexico. You can see it ejecting off to the east right now, starting to pick up a little bit of steam as it pushes towards the panhandle of Texas as well as Oklahoma. This storm system at this time looks like it's going to take a favorable track for winter weather potential here in northwest Arkansas. Usually you want to see those systems ride along the Red River and then eject off to the north and east. That's exactly what we're going to get with this system. Now, it's not all that strong in terms of how long it's going to stick around. In fact, we're expecting a pretty quick shot of winter precipitation with this particular system. However, it is going to be coming through your morning commute, and some of the latest model data is making those trends happen a little bit earlier than maybe previously anticipated. You're going to see that here on Future Track right now. Of course, the precipitation, in my opinion, and this is what I'm looking at right now in terms of that column of air above the surface, because it really does make a big difference in terms of what precipitation types we see, as well as how much snow we get with these types of weather systems, because we don't have the cold air already in place in northwest Arkansas, and we're going to have a lot of dynamic cooling in order for that changeover to snow to occur. So I do think the precipitation is actually going to start off in the form of sleet, maybe some rain, as well as snow, because that column of air above the surface will be a little bit above freezing at the start of this event. But as more precipitation falls, that cools the atmosphere, allows those snowflakes to reach the ground. And that's why we're expecting the potential for a little bit of snow as we move throughout the morning hours. You're going to see that here on Future Track. Look at that. 5 o'clock, already starting to transition to all snow in northwest Arkansas. Now, I think areas along and north of the Bobby Hopper Tunnel are going to be favored for that all snow changeover. However, in the River Valley, I think we're going to be mostly looking at a rain snow mixture. Check out those temperatures too, right at freezing in the lower lying areas of NWA. That's a big deal because in order to get significant snowfall, most of the time, you need very heavy precipitation rates and temperatures that are well below freezing. And we're going to be around freezing in NWA, and we will see the potential for some accumulating snow. However, because it's been so warm over the last several days for those high temperatures, and because those temps are going to be a little bit above freezing for the majority of this event, I don't think we're going to see significant snowfall totals. Now, in the higher terrain of northwest Arkansas, we're talking Huntsville, Jasper, Madison, and Newton County, the usual suspects in the Boston Mountains, as well as the Ouachita Mountains here in Scott, LaFleur County, as well as Logan County. These areas could see maybe some locally higher amounts of snow as those temperatures drop off a little bit quicker. So certainly something we're going to be watching very closely there in the higher terrain of NWA. But for the rest of the area, I do think that it's going to be a struggle for the snow to stick. I also think that this snow is going to be out relatively quickly, because look at that. We change over to all snow around 5, 6 o'clock, and then it's already moving out of the area by lunchtime. It could move out even earlier than that if we get a little bit more dry air in. And look at these temperatures already rising up into the middle to upper 30s. This is not going to be a highly impactful event, folks. In fact, the evening commute is looking pretty good, because I think all the snow is going to be melted by the time we get to the afternoon hours. So definitely do think that the morning commute could be impacted by this. If we look at the winter storm severity index, we do have limited impacts according to the National Weather Service office, and that graphic is loading up right now, but you're going to see that in just a few moments here as that data loads in. But there's a lot of dry air with this system, Jacob. There certainly is a lot of dry air, and I think that's going to push that system out, maybe even quicker than what the models are showing. But you see here limited impacts expected with the system. Again, it's not going to be something that's going to seriously impact your day. I don't think school's going to be impacted. I think school's going to be fine. but you need to be a little bit cautious, especially if you're taking Highway 412 through Madison and Newton County, as there will be the potential for a few slick spots on those bridges and overpasses. Also, with the rain melting and things like that, or the snowfall melting, excuse me, that can also cause some slick spots. It's like we say all the time when we have events like this come through. Just take it nice and easy. Make sure you're giving yourself several extra minutes to get to where you're going. Go about 10 miles per hour below speed limit, and you should be good to go. Let's look at some of the questions that we got going on right now. The Farmer's Almanac shows that we're supposed to get a ton of snow this winter season in Northwest Arkansas. Susan, we actually had a little story that we had about the winter weather potential for this season. We always like to talk about the Farmer's Almanac because it's always cool to see how correct they were. And we're in an El Nino pattern that can sometimes be a wild card. So we're certainly going to be watching that very closely there. Amanda's not a fan of the snow coming. Amanda, I am right there with you. And you know what? I haven't even showed you how much snow that we're expecting with this system. So check this out, Amanda, and everybody that's watching right now. This is our projected snowfall amounts. I'm not going to show the model data here. This is our forecast that we made. You might be looking on social media right now thinking, okay, well, this particular model said there's going to be 2 inches over my area. This particular model said there's going to be 3 inches. You have to understand that a lot of times the models are not taking into account that we've got warmer temperatures at the surface, and also it's going to take some time to transition to all snow. That's why we're expecting about a dusting to 1 inch in most locations in our weather coverage area. However, in the higher terrain of Northwest Arkansas, the usual culprits right around the Boston Mountains, Madison, Newton County, as well as a little bit farther south towards the Ouachitas, that's where we can see locally higher amounts up to 2 inches in some locations. I might have to update that for the Ouachita. I think there is the potential for up to 2 inches in those areas as well. But again, this is not going to be a significant weather maker. I don't think schools are going to be closed, but I do think you need to take it nice and easy on the roadways tomorrow, especially if you're leaving between about 6 o'clock or maybe even earlier than that, 5 o'clock to about 10 o'clock a.m. That's going to be the sweet spot for that snowfall potential here in Northwest Arkansas. Let's look at some more questions here. How much are we expecting between this system and the Tuesday system? Jacob, I will get to the Tuesday system in just a minute because, oh my goodness, are we about to have a lot of headaches in the weather lab as we go throughout the next several days. And we are still looking at that Tuesday system, but right now our focus is on the Friday system because we have more details on that. We're a little bit more confident in what's going to go down with that. And then we're going to fine tune that as we get closer to the weekend and into the early part of next week. So Katie, snow day for schools. I don't think this warrants a snow day for schools. I think most of the snow is going to be melting on contact on the roadways. I know the Arkansas Department of Transportation is coming up from Central Arkansas. I think they're going to put some treatment on the roads just in case. I think things are going to be A-okay. Maybe a delayed start to the school day. That could possibly happen. But in terms of the snow day itself, no, I don't think so. I think the afternoon's going to be fine. I think all the snow is going to be melted by 2, 3 o'clock. So I don't think there's going to be any issues there with the schools, but maybe a delayed start. So this is the part of the persimmon forecast that was predicted. David, you're exactly right. And those persimmon seeds, I believe in them. I really do believe in them. Those plants and animals know what's up. I've seen the squirrels go crazy over the last several days, and we are definitely getting into a very active and very cold weather pattern here in Northwest Arkansas. That is for sure. Do you feel next week's system will bring more snow than tomorrow? Taylor, I will get to that in just a few moments. But let me get through a few more questions here. I'm going to get to that because next week's system is very, very interesting. You guys got to see all the latest model details. Well, if it's going to get this cold, there should be snow. Rebecca, honestly, I agree with you. I think if there's no snow with cold air, it's kind of a waste of cold air. But as I've gotten older, I don't know what it is about me and winter weather now. It just doesn't mix. I think forecasting winter weather in this area is so difficult, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It's made me a Grinch when it comes to snow potential, I would say. But yeah, you're definitely right about that. I definitely agree with that. Savannah just talked about that potential for delays, I think, for some schools. But overall, I think school's going to be good to go tomorrow during the afternoon hours. Good old dry slot, says Jacob. You're exactly right about that all the time. It just Colby effect. I don't know if Colby's in here right now, but shout out Colby effect. He always tries to make his way in. We'll get to Monday into Tuesday in just a minute, Rebecca. Let's see. Lack of snow all across the country wreaks havoc on numerous ecosystems. You know, Justin, that's actually a good point you make, especially in the West Coast in California. They really need their snowpack there. And I think they're going to get some systems that move through that area over the next several days. That's really going to help out with the snowpack there. Hey there, Austin. Happy to have you in from Little Rock. If you're living in Central Arkansas, there will be some flakes flying tomorrow. However, I think accumulation is unlikely at this time in those areas. But we got another system coming in next week. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's see. Is Winslow in the clear? Jaws, I think pretty much most locations are in the clear. However, if you're in a higher terrain area, there could be a few issues. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But Winslow should be in the clear. I think most locations are going to be in the clear for tomorrow. It's really just what Crystal Martinez calls an Instagram snow, per se. I heard that there was snow expected on Saturday, too. Any truth to that? Susan, there is a potential for some flurries on Saturday. Same deal Sunday morning. However, in terms of accumulating snow, unlikely with anything that does fall on those days. Alex says starting this evening. Alex, not starting this evening. We'll be fine during the evening hours. Really up until about, I think, 1:30, 2 o'clock. That's the earliest I could see precipitation move through northwest Arkansas. I mean, the model trends keep getting earlier and earlier. So who knows at this point. But I do think after midnight, that's when we're going to start seeing the precipitation fall. Main time frame sweet spot for heavier snowfall potential is going to be between 5 to 10 a.m. tomorrow. That's going to be our sweet spot for that. Let's see here. Absolutely, Stacy. I appreciate those kind words, and very, very, very happy to do this. I always say that this is my dream to do the weather, so I'm super excited about getting to forecast here in Northwest Arkansas. Lived here for last 10 years or so I really appreciate those kind words for sure. Oh, buddy, here he is, the man of the hour, Colby Ward. It's your time to shine, man. It's your time to shine. If we don't get anything tomorrow, this is the man you got to blame right here. The Colby effect is the real deal. That is for sure. Kinder Carroll, looking forward to snow in Tahlequah. Do I need to stock up on groceries at Walmart? Kinder, I think you're going to be A-okay in Tahlequah. No bread and milk there, but maybe a Wendy's burger. Anybody like Wendy's? If you like Wendy's, let me know in the comments as well. I think I need to go get a Frosty tomorrow. I'm kind of in the mood for a Frosty anytime I see snowfall potential in Northwest Arkansas. Casey says, school? Geez, my district doesn't come back for teachers until Monday and kids on Tuesday. Well, maybe. Casey, I know that I believe Bentonville? No, I don't know if it's Bentonville or Fayetteville, but one of those two districts is back in school right now. I know there is some districts that are back in school right now. I know some start next Tuesday. If you are in school right now, I don't think there's going to be any issues with that. Again, though, maybe a delayed start, but, I know some schools don't even do that. And even then, I think it's going to be fun for the kiddos to go to school tomorrow. Higher trend of Northwest Arkansas, maybe borderline, though. Omaha, Arkansas, higher elevation. Let's go. And you're going to be winning next week, too, because I'm going to be talking about the system that's coming through next Tuesday. There you go. See, now I'm getting some answers. So it is Fayetteville, KC, that has started back school. They started back on Tuesday, I believe. And then Springdale is back. Actually, Fayetteville started on Wednesday, and Springdale is back today, says Dan. So thank you so much, guys, for letting me know about that. But again, I think Fayetteville started on Wednesday, and there's other schools that are back in session. But regardless, if you are back in school, I don't think there's going to be any issues tomorrow. Andy says, we need more snow. Bring it on. I mean, Andy might like the forecast next week. I'm about to talk about it in just a few moments. David, is there any chance for snow thunder? Not with this system, but we're about to talk about next week. I'm going to just make sure there's no more comments here. I want to get to everybody's comment before we move on to that. If you guys have any questions about the system that's coming through on Friday, let me know, and I'll answer them, and then we'll move on to the system next week. And same deal, if you got questions about that, I'm sure we'll probably get more questions about that because there's a lot more uncertainty there. Excited to finally see snow on the weather cam. It's going to be cool tomorrow, Blaze. We're going to have a live view as well, so we're going to have somebody in a car driving up and down I-49 tomorrow morning during the shows, by the way. Tune in tomorrow morning at 5 and 6 on KNWA and Fox 24 at 7 o'clock, and we'll have all the latest details there. I'll also perhaps start a Facebook Live tomorrow morning before the show start as well. So if you're up early tomorrow, make sure to tune into that. We'll have the latest updates there as we go throughout this event. What are the chances of snow on Saturday at Bud Walton Arena? 100% chance of frozen Auburn Tigers, Kinder, and maybe a few flurries on the side. Alma started back yesterday. Farmington started back yesterday. So we got quite a few school districts that have started back up here in Northwest Arkansas in the River Valley. All right. If nobody has any more questions about the system coming through tomorrow, and we'll touch base on this one more time before we wrap it up, let's get to next week. Okay. And what we're going to do here is we're going to start off with the jet stream pattern because this is the make or break situation. This is what we're looking for right now when it comes to the system next week. Because remember, we're still 5 to 6 days out from this event occurring. This system is still located all the way up in southeast of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. In fact, I can actually go and show you a water vapor image. Let's do this. I'm going to do this right now. So this graphic was from yesterday, so that's not the piece of energy that we're looking at anymore. However, look at this powerful low pressure system that's going on here in Alaska. Look at that. I mean, we're talking 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts along the Aleutian Islands, blowing snow, significant amounts of snow in southwestern Alaska. And it's almost like a mini hurricane. I mean, that is textbook right there in terms of low pressure system. One of the more impressive systems I've seen over the last several months. Now, you're looking at the system right now and you're thinking, okay, is this what we're going to get here? That's actually not the case. This piece of energy that's broken off from the main low pressure system is what we're going to get here in northwest Arkansas. And right now, that is taking that northerly track. It's moving through western Canada, through northern Canada, and it's picking up a lot of cold air right now. And this is why this system is going to be a bigger deal than the one that's coming through tomorrow. Because the one that's coming through tomorrow, it originated in the Pacific, and it's not nearly as cold or as dynamic as the system that's going on in Canada right now. And this is another reason why we've got to watch this system, because it's not going to bring in a lot of Arctic air behind it. Temperatures are going to be in the 50s on Sunday of next week, and we're going to be in the 40s on Monday as well. So that is a limiting factor. We're going to start off with the limiting factor right now. The ultimate limiting factor of this system that's coming through next week is that we don't already have the Arctic air in place. And it's not every time, but a lot of the times, if we don't have the Arctic air in place already in northwest Arkansas, it is difficult to get a significant amount of snow here in northwest Arkansas. So that's a limiting factor. Now, here's the thing about this system that makes it a little bit more special and why we do have the potential for higher snowfall totals with this system. And I say potential. I'm not calling it right now, but there's potential. Because of how dynamic this system is and the factors that are at play with it and how heavy the precipitation rates are going to be, this system may be able to overcome that as it moves into northwest Arkansas, if it takes the correct track. And what's the correct track? And you've probably heard Dan talk about this a lot of the time, but I'm going to draw it out for you right now. If this system is going to cause big impacts in northwest Arkansas and the River Valley, and I'm going to take a view here so we can see Fayetteville. This system needs to dive south. It needs to hug the desert southwest, and it needs to move right along the Red River and then eject off to the north and east through the Red River region and back off to the north and east so we can get that, so we can get the heavier snowfall on the backside of the system. This is key. This has to happen with this system for us to get significant snowfall. If it does not take that track, if it rides the Red River but then ejects off to the north and west through Fayetteville, we'll still get snow, but it's not going to be a significant amount of snow by any stretch of the imagination because the dry slot's going to move through and we're not going to have enough energy left in our area for us to see significant snowfall. So I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to show you the one track that needs to happen, right? And then I'm going to draw the two tracks that would mean little to no snow in our area. So this is the ideal track, right? Red River, Texarkana, boom, ejects off to the north and east. That is the most ideal track right there for us to get significant snow. And some of the models are showing that this could happen. If it rides along the Red River, but then ejects off to the north and east too early, that's not going to give us enough. It's not going to have enough energy left for us to see a significant amount of snow. We're going to get dry slotted, and then we don't get hardly anything. If it goes a little bit too far south, well, then that means that we're not going to have enough cold air in place for us to see any significant snowfall as well here in northwest Arkansas. So, again, the track is what we're looking at right now. The track is the most important dynamic to the system at this time. And a lot of these models are showing a pretty favorable track for snow in northwest Arkansas. This is a European model. Notice how that low pressure system is digging in over the desert Southwest, and through the panhandle of Texas. This is, I mean, we're talking about severe weather potential in Houston. I mean, they're going to have to, I mean, the national championship game is going to be played in Houston on Monday next week. And we could be talking about tornado potential in southeastern Texas and the Gulf of Mexico. So this right here has to be watched very closely for severe weather potential in Texas. But we're going to be on the cold side of this system. And we're going to start off as rain, but as that low pressure ejects to the area, that's where we're going to see the potential for snow. Now, here's the thing about the European model. What do you notice about the European model right now that could cause issues? Look at the low pressure system. It ejects off to the north and east too quickly. And that means we get the dry slot, and that means we don't get as much in terms of snowfall. We still get snow, but it's not going to be what I call plowable snow, which is over 3 inches. So that's what the European deterministic model is showing. Now, some of you are probably wondering, what the heck does deterministic mean? Well, the deterministic model that we just showed right now is what releases every 6 hours from both the European model, which we just showed, and the GFS. Those two long-range models in their deterministic form release one solution every 6 hours. So that's why a lot of times you'll see those crazy snowfall totals from the GFS 384 hours out, because it's changing so much every 6 hours. However, we have another forecasting tool called the ensembles, and these are also in categorized by the European and GFS. However, they spit out multiple different solutions, and I feel like they are much better when it comes to forecasting winter weather in Northwest Arkansas. So here's what I'm going to do. We're not even going to show the future track for European and GFS on here, because that's the deterministic future track. We're 5 to 6 days out. It's going to change so much. Let's go to the ensembles and let's take a look at what trends they are showing us first. And that way we can kind of interpret, okay, are we going to see the potential for snow here in Northwest Arkansas? So I'm going to pull that up right now. Stand by for just a few moments. I'm going to get to answer some questions in just a minute as well. I'm going to try to pull up this link so that we can get to those models. So just stand by for a few moments. I'm going to move myself off the screen here, and I'm just going to make sure we are able to pull that up. But again, what we're looking at here is we're looking for trends from these ensemble models that consistently have a signal for snow. And so that's what we're looking at right now in the weather world in order to forecast the system that's coming through next week. Because we could, just look at, some random thing, right? We could look at the deterministic model and it changes every few moments or so. And then we're looking at, basically nothing in Northwest Arkansas sometimes. Then we're looking at a ton of snow other times. So here's the model, and I'm going to make this full screen here. So just stand by so you can have a better view of that. And I'm also going to make this a little bit more clear for you. So just stand by for 1 second. Okay. So here's a look at the deterministic model for the Europeans. So this is what gets spit out every 6 hours, one solution, and that's it. And in the European model for the 6Z and 18Z runs only go out 90 hours, but you can also go out a longer period of time. Now, this is the deterministic model. Notice on the bottom of your screen there, that's how much snowfall it's got coming in for this particular model run in Drake Field on Tuesday morning. So notice those temperatures right around freezing, borderline freezing again. This right here, it's a little bit tough to interpret. But if we go to the European ensemble models and we look at this, notice how we've got multiple different solutions that we can look at here. And this is why we're looking at trends in the models. This is what we're talking about when we're saying to focus on the trends. Because every single one of these ensembles have snow in some form or fashion for the early part of next week here in Northwest Arkansas, and even the River Valley as well. And so that's a signal that we're looking for right now. Now, you notice how all these have different outcomes, and they all have different amounts of snow, but every single one of them, except I think one, has snow for the early part of next week here in Northwest Arkansas. What about the GFS ensemble? Let's take a look at that as well. Look at that. Every single one of them has the potential for snowfall next week. And you can also see the control as well as the mean. Now the GFS goes out a little bit farther, so this is for the latter half of next week, which is another story. But notice how it has that bump as we head towards Tuesday of next week. So this is what we look for in the models. Now, one other thing we can look at with this is our maps that the ensembles push out that show the probability of having a certain amount of snow in Northwest Arkansas. You've probably seen these maps quite a bit over the last several days. And let's look at the European one. Let's look at the 00Z model run, the probability of 1 inch of snow for Northwest Arkansas. Let's go to United States. Well, we can't do that with the ensembles. Let's go to the central region. Let's take a look at Arkansas here. So we advance this through time. You're going to see there's that first system that's coming through tomorrow, and you can see about a 50% chance in most locations in Northwest Arkansas for 1 inch of snow or greater. And then as we go into the early part of next week, look at that. That's a 90 to 100% chance based on the ensemble data that we see at least 1 inch of snow in Northwest Arkansas, and even a 70 to 80% chance in the River Valley. So that's a signal that we're looking for, right? What about plowable snow, which I consider 3 inches? That's still pretty high up there for Northwest Arkansas. So these are the trends that we look for in order to forecast snow a little bit farther out, or a little bit further out in time. And that's why I'm not showing you a map right now of the deterministic models, because we just are too far out for those smaller scale details to be looked at this time, because this system is still trying to make its way on shore, and we've still got a lot of things to fine tune before we can make a determination on that. So I'm going to exit out of here. I'm going to go back to our StreamYard page, and I'm going to look at all the information that you guys have here, or all of your comments. Sorry, there's so many things on my mind right now that I'm what you would call a Squidward. I'm kind of grumpy about forecasting winter weather right now, because it really is challenging, especially in this part of the country, to forecast winter weather this time of year. So I'm going to go back here to the lower third, and I'm going to look at some of the comments that you guys have. Casey, I see your comment. New favorite insult. That is hilarious. Rusty says, don't worry, it will miss us as usual. And Rusty, you know what? You might be right about that system next week. We're still 5 to 6 days out. There's still a lot of time for this to change dramatically over the next several days. So we're going to keep an eye on it. We'll have the latest updates. Weather Authority app, great resource to have. I'll show you guys a link to that before we wrap up this weather live stream. Steve says, let her rip. Let's get going. Let's get a ton of snow here in Northwest Arkansas. You know what, Steve? Maybe we see it next week. Maybe we're lucky, and maybe we get that correct track, and maybe we get some snow here in Northwest Arkansas in the River Valley. Move to Hinesville. Is there a chance we could get more or less so? Jeff, in your area, there's potential for a little bit more snow, I think, in the Hinesville area. I know that's a little bit more elevated, so there is the potential for maybe a little bit more snow. But for the system that's coming through tomorrow, we're not talking about a significant amount of snowfall. So we're not talking about 6 to 10 inches of snow. We're just talking about maybe upwards of 1 to 2 inches in the higher trend in Northwest Arkansas, with most areas in the lower lying areas seeing about a dusting to a half inch. Thank you so much, David. Yes, and I really like showing that. I think that really puts things into perspective. I've gotten a lot of comments about my forecast on air and why I'm not showing the future track European or GFS for the early part of next week. And it's for that reason. It's because we just don't have enough data in yet, or enough an idea of where that track is going to be in order to show that. And because it just changes so much, there's no point showing it right now. But as we go into the weekend, that's when we're going to start showing the model data for Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. I'm near Strickler. Is it going to be rough here? Mandy, nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy in the Strickler area. But just be careful on the roadways tomorrow. I think if you take it nice and easy, 10 miles per hour below the speed limit, leave a little bit early, you're going to be A-okay tomorrow. Is Hot Springs, Arkansas getting anything tomorrow morning? So, Jason, very good question. I used to live in the Hot Springs area, so I do know Garland County pretty well. If you live in northwestern Garland County, especially towards Hot Springs Village, towards the Mount Ida area, I actually think there will be the potential for accumulating snowfall. Now, nothing crazy, but I would think upwards maybe of 1 inch of snow in that higher terrain area of Garland County, just to the northwest of Lake Hamilton. But the Lake Hamilton area, I don't think so. Lake Hamilton is I don't think Lake Hamilton's going to get a whole lot from this. I think a wintry mix is possible, But Hot Springs itself, downtown Hot Springs, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot in the way of accumulating snowfall, really a whole lot of winter precipitation. I wonder if school will be closing. Diana, I just don't think, and let me know if I said your name right. Is it Diana or Deanna? I just want to make sure I get everybody's name right when I mention everybody on here. So just let me know about that in the comments. But I don't think school will be closing. I'm going to go back here to the snowfall accumulation map. I mean, we're not talking about anything crazy here. I mean, maybe the higher train of Northwest Arkansas has to keep an eye on this near the Huntsville and Jasper areas. But most of the snow, even in the higher elevations of NWA, will be melted by the afternoon. So I don't think school will be closed tomorrow just because we're not talking about significant accumulation on the roadways, but a few slick spots, definitely a possibility on those bridges and overpasses. So just make sure you're taking it nice and easy tomorrow. Noah's claiming onset after midnight tonight, and Alex, it makes sense. I don't think there'll be anything before midnight. And really, I don't think there will be much in the way of winter precipitation until after 3 o'clock. And after that, dynamic cooling takes over. How's Mountain Home looking tomorrow? Eric or Arik, hope I say saying your name right. There is the potential for maybe about an inch of snow near Mountain Home. That's definitely a little bit of a elevated area there. You can see that 1 to 2 inch amount kind of pointing towards Mountain Home. We don't have it included on there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got upwards of an inch near the Mountain Home area. It's Boston Mountains, man. They can do some crazy things with these types of weather systems. And I know there's elevation there in Mountain Home, so definitely looking at some snowfall potential, but very similar to the rest of the area. Not expecting a whole lot in terms of impacts on the roadways. Your mention of Squidward reminds me, SpongeBob and me will be 25 this year. I cannot believe SpongeBob's 25 years old. That is my childhood right there, Jacob. I love SpongeBob so much. Like we're Crystal and I quote it all the time during the morning shows. Like I just can't get enough of it. I still watch it to this day. It's just like you could literally quote SpongeBob for like any situation. It's so funny. Casey says, "Be happy you aren't turning 35." Well, yeah, Casey, I know it's coming soon. I'm just trying to stay humble. You know what I'm saying? Stay humble and keep my eye on the prize. And hopefully I can keep my youth for as long as possible, too. A lot of folks say I still look like I'm in high school. And, hey, I take that as a compliment because, I want to stay looking as young as possible for as long as possible as well. But, yeah, definitely a good point right there. Is anybody, feeling any, pain in their bones or joints right now? I've been kind of feeling a little bit sore lately, especially after my runs. I mean, obviously you're going to feel sore after a run, but I've been feeling more sore. I think it's this weather. I think the change of the weather pattern. The squirrels, like I said, are going crazy right now outside my house. David says there are too many model readers on YouTube that go over models as forecasts, and that's exactly right. Models are not a forecast. They're guidance. They guide us to the solution, right? And, we're looking at the accumulation total map right now. This is our forecasted map. If you looked at the HRRR run, it's got 2 inches of snow in the River Valley. It's got 4 inches of snow in portions of Logan and even Scott County. But it just doesn't make sense meteorological-wise that we're going to get that much snow. And so that's why we have to interpret those models, and that's why we have to go over those and make our forecast based on looking out the window and everything. Absolutely, Jacob. You, Dan, Josh, and Zach. Well, I'm Josh, Jacob. But you asked if there's a chance of thunder snow with the Tuesday system. Too early to determine that, but there will be a little bit of instability that's trying to make its way in. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some thunder on Monday. Are we going to have enough energy left behind Monday night and Tuesday for thunder snow potential? Well, I'll say this. If it takes the correct track, we will have the potential for thunder snow. If it takes the correct track. I'm going to say that one more time. If it takes the correct track. But there definitely will be some potential because there will be some instability trying to make its way in. And if we're on that northwestern side of the system, we get that convective banding. And that's where you can get some of those lightning strikes on the western side of that low pressure system. So good question. And I'm sure we'll have a better answer for that as we go into the early part of next week. Okay. Thank you so much for letting me know about that. I want to just make sure I'm saying everybody's name right when I'm mentioning them on here. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Casey, my one time I experienced thunder snow was when I lived in Little Rock. It was such an awesome experience. I still remember the sound. It was 2012. You were exactly right about that, Casey. I was living in Hot Springs in 2012. And we did have thunder snow for that Christmas system. It happened on Christmas Day. And that was also when we had a blizzard warning in northeastern Arkansas. And I remember fondly quite a few lightning strikes in central Arkansas as well as northeast Arkansas as that system ejected off to the northeast. And one thing people don't remember about that system, too, is we had a tornado outbreak in Louisiana and Mississippi with that system as well. So that was a very dynamic system. And this is very similar in terms of the overall setup, right? The locations that get that favorable track are going to have a chance for heavy snowfall potential on the backside of that system as it moves to the area. The southern side of the system, we're talking about tornado potential. That's why I mentioned Houston earlier, because we got the college football playoff national championship going on Monday, and we could be having severe weather potential in those areas. So great mention right there of 2012. I remember that system. I remember watching the models very closely. I remember the guidance. And somebody mentioned the models. If you listen to the models on that system, Northwest Arkansas would have gotten hammered with 10 to 12 inches of snow. But it ended up being in central Arkansas because it took a more southerly track and it took a more favorable track for snowfall in central and southern Arkansas. Great mention right there. Question, and sorry for asking about Little Rock. My dad is having surgery Monday. He has to stay overnight, and my dear mother has to get him Tuesday. Is central looking really low on snow? Casey, first of all, praying that the surgery goes well and everything on Monday. Certainly going to keep you guys in my thoughts and prayers there. In terms of that situation that you guys are in, for Tuesday in Central Arkansas, it's tough to say right now. We still got to figure out that track. I would suggest keeping an eye on things. Definitely make sure you're keeping an eye on things. Central Arkansas, I think, has a lesser chance of seeing snowfall in Northwest Arkansas, actually a much lower chance than Northwest Arkansas, even if it does take a more southerly track. But just keep an eye on those forecast trends. I think for now, if I need to give you an answer right now, I would say I would lean more towards it being fine on Tuesday in Central Arkansas. But we'll keep an eye on those trends. I'll have more weather lives coming up. I'll have one tomorrow morning. That's mainly going to be on what's coming up on Friday, but I'll also have one on Monday as well. We'll have a concrete answer for you right there. Courtney, I feel you on the sore thing. I've been feeling it too. It's crazy, like how your body just like reacts. It just knows what's coming up, right? It's insane. Like, the animals, my dog, she's going a little bit more crazy. And so it's like, what's going on right now? It's just insane how like everybody operates when it comes to systems like these, even before they're in the area. So maybe it's a sign that maybe we see a little bit more than what we're expecting. Again, the temperatures, because they're going to be marginally around freezing, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of impacts with the system coming up this weekend. But definitely going to be a long-term cold and active pattern. In fact, I'll show you the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook before we wrap things up. I'm traveling to Searcy, Arkansas on Monday. Searcy, Arkansas getting snow on Monday. So Monday, Jason, I think is going to be fine. I think most of the precipitation on Monday is going to be in the form of rain. It's that backside of the system as it ejects off to the north and east. That's when we're going to start seeing that transition to snow as that dynamic cooling takes over and as we get much colder air on that backside of the system, which is another reason why we have to have that correct track, because we don't already have the cold air in place in Northwest Arkansas for that system next week. So mainly Monday night and Tuesday right now in terms of snowfall potential. During the day Monday, I think it's just going to be all rain, and it could be quite heavy at times. Absolutely, Casey. And I'll keep you posted on everything. Again, we'll have a much better idea of what's going to go down for the entire state by the time we get to the early part of next week. So, all right, I think we're about ready to wrap things up. Let's look at one more thing. If you guys have any more questions, I'll be here for another 5 minutes or so. I'll be happy to answer them real quick. But let's look at one more little piece of data here that I just want to show you. And I haven't even looked at this yet. So this is the first time I'm going to look at it. And there it is, 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. And I do believe this. The Climate Prediction Center usually nails this. Colder than normal temperatures still expected over a large part of the country, including Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. Now, will the active weather pattern continue? Potentially. You can see some drier than normal conditions trying to make their way into NWA. But again, this is 8 to 14 days out. A lot of things have to be fine-tuned. So it's definitely starting to get more active. Winter is fighting back. And I wouldn't be surprised if we had another system move through past Tuesday as we move throughout the rest of January. I think January is looking like quite the active weather pattern here in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. Definitely looking like it's going to stay colder than normal, at least as we move throughout the middle part of January. Timmy's ready for the snow. He says, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. And hopefully the weather is not frightful. But regardless, the fire is going to be so delightful, Timmy. That is for sure. Did the warming at the northern pole occur? I know that tends to make weather crazy. And David, you are right about that. And yes, it is beginning to take place. And that's why we are watching the rest of January very closely. And that's why I think even if we don't get snow or a whole lot of it on Tuesday, we've got more chances coming up because we're going to have our first big blast of Arctic air come through the area during the latter half of next week. And we're not talking about high temperatures in the 40s. We're talking about high temperatures struggling to get out of the 20s next week in portions of northwestern Arkansas. So definitely going to be a lot of Arctic air moving in. The snowpack is going to start becoming a factor north of us. And if we get some more systems through here, David, I think we could be talking about a very active and potentially wintry pattern as we head throughout the rest of January. So this is not going to be the last of the chances, not by any means. So a very good question right there, by the way. That really does play a big impact on our weather here in Northwest Arkansas. All right, last thing I'm going to leave you with here, Weather Authority app. You can scan that QR code on your screen right now if you're watching on your computer, or if you're on your phone, you can go to the Google Play and Apple App Store. Just search up the Your Weather Authority app. We're going to be posting updates on that. I'm sure later on this evening, Peyton and Zach are going to be in giving you updates there. I'm going to be posting an update to the app early tomorrow morning. I am going to have a weather live stream as well during the morning hours tomorrow before the shows start. Again, if you want the latest details outside of that weather live stream, that's going to be happening right around 4 o'clock. You can watch us on KNWA Today at 5 and 6 o'clock, as well as Fox 24 News at 7, and we'll have all of the latest information there. But for now, I think we're going to wrap things up. We're about 45 minutes in. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this weather live stream. I know it's a very complicated weather pattern. Again, I think tomorrow, limited impacts expected for a large part of the area. Take it nice and easy as you head to work and school tomorrow, and you should be fine. Snowfall accumulation doesn't look to be all that significant for this particular system that's coming through tomorrow morning. But we'll have more coming up later tonight. Be sure to tune in to KNWA News starting at 5 o'clock with Peyton and Zach. For now, though, have a terrific rest of your Thursday, everybody. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.